I think we're virtually, well, it says 6:29 on here, but I think we're virtually on 6:30, thank you. Welcome everybody to this liaison meeting on the 16th of March. Just run through what we've got to do. Thank you for attending the hybrid meeting of Church Liaison on Wednesday, 16th of March 2022. For those who don't know me, I'm Councillor Gordon France, and I'm the chair of this committee, and my colleague, Councillor Kim Snape, is the vice chair. Also present in the town hall are officers Jennifer Mullen and Coral Asprey. This is an hybrid meeting with members present in the council chamber and on Microsoft Teams. If you're in the council chamber and wish to speak, please indicate, and once I've brought you in, you will need to activate your microphone by pressing the button under your name. For those of you on Teams, please remain muted. If you wish to speak, please use the raise hand function. I will then bring you in at an appropriate time and you can unmute. This meeting is also being live streamed onto YouTube. Are we right with the live streaming? Yeah. Right. Minutes, I've done the welcome. Minutes of the meeting Wednesday 19th of January. Has anybody had the opportunity, or everybody had the opportunity to have a look at that? Yeah? Do you want to raise an issue? No, you're fine. The only thing I would say on that one is there was two items that we were asked to write to Lancashire County Council about. One was the school places, which has been, Coral Julie has composed a letter which I've signed. We haven't had a reply as yet from that. And the other thing was the hanging baskets on lampposts and the charge. Now, what we've actually had back on that one from the County Council is basically a generic response, and not to go absolutely through it, but I think to read the paragraph relevant. The County Council has always asked applicants to fund the column tests, and this is the only way for the County Council can determine whether the target column is suitable to support additional weight. Where the County Council carries out the column test on behalf of the applicant, the fee is £55 and represents the contractor's actual testing fee plus LCC's overheads. Now, we've had a number of charges for this, and I think recently, I think the first charge was £30. This seems to be a generic letter. It's not, basically, it doesn't answer the questions that the parish councils were asking. So I'm going to ask Carol to write to them again and say, please, can we have the relevant answers? So, as I say, we're going to write to them again. I don't think that is a correct response to what we've asked. So sorry about this delay, and I know it's an item that concerns parish councillors, but you know, that is just something that's coming out to everybody, and I don't think that's an answer. It's not answering the questions the parish council's asked. So we're going to write again, and I hope that everybody's happy with that. Anybody want to come back and respond on that? Sorry, Terry, I haven't seen you.
You answered the question. It was about Southlands. We awaited developments at Southlands High School, but again, I reiterate from my previous position as a secondary head that at the end of the day, this is not quite what it seems. I think there's a way of trying to make sure that other schools are going to have to take on more children.
Yeah, I mean, there are a number of responses. I know the leader is talking to LCC and talking to Southlands. As I say, we just put our, we've just joined in and sort of sent our responses, which I think is good. These sort of things, the more the merrier. Terry, the more of us that object, hopefully maybe we can get a change. We'll wait and see. Thank you. Right, the next thing on my agenda is item number 3, which is a climate change presentation, and Sally's here. Thank you, Sally, for coming, and I think it's an update as much as anything, isn't it, Sally?
Yeah, this is just a quick bit of information regarding our climate change public consultation. I just made a quick little presentation just so you get some nice visuals. So yeah, this is just about information more than anything. So our climate change strategy is currently out for public consultation. It's a draft, so it is now public for you to see and to give your opinions on. If you could please spread the word to all your parishes as well. That's mainly what I'm here for, is to spread the word. So this is what I'll cover. I'll just show you where on our website our strategy is, and then our 2 different survey options and our poster competition as well. So I'll just quickly run through it just so that you're aware. So the location of the strategy, it's very simple. It's just on the front of our website. So if you just Google, Chorley Council climate change strategy, it'll come up. Also, if you type in that link there, I can share this PowerPoint if anyone needs it. It's just climate change strategy and it's right at the top. There is an accessible version of it with no pictures, so it can go through the audio recognition as normal, and there is a designed version as well if you want something a little bit more jazzy and exciting. It's got some nice pictures. A printed version can be provided if any of your constituents require it or wish for it. They can either call our generic switch line, they can be sent to me, and I can get an address and I can print it and post it, or they can email our generic email, which I said last time is climatechange@chorley.gov.uk. Our public consultation for the strategy is running until the 25th of April, so there's another five weeks left. Okay. So the 2 main ways that we're getting this consultation underway is surveys. Obviously, we do accept written responses as well. If anyone wants to do that to our email, that's fine. But we do try to get people to do the survey because they are the questions that will most inform our final draft. So the adult survey, it's right at the top of the webpage, of the climate change webpage. So you can either go on the web link that's there, or if you go on the Chorley Council webpage when it has the different hyperlinks, climate change is right in front of you. It takes about 10 minutes. Obviously that depends. There are a lot of open-ended questions, so it obviously depends on how much people do and don't want to say. If they're opinionated and they want to write more, it will take more than 10 minutes, but it's designed to not take very long for the general public. The answers are obviously anonymous, so nobody needs to worry if they're going to say something, anything like that. We obviously won't know who they are, and they will obviously be used to inform the final draft for our priorities, our actions, what is most important to them, and what we can feasibly do. This strategy covers 2022 to 2024, just because there's a lot of legislative changes coming through in 2024. So we obviously need to reevaluate every 2 years for it. So next slide. And then we've also done a youth resident survey as well. I'm sure you all agree that the youth is the most important opinion sometimes, and a lot of the time as well. These actions are what will impact them most. It is the next generation, so we do want their opinions as well. It's right at the top of the webpage, right next to the adult survey. It says youth. It's age between 13 and 18, and that's simply for GDPR reasons. We can't really store any data for children that are under 13 years of age. We have sent this consultation to schools, and we've sent emails to schools with the draft consultation, and to primary schools as well. We're accepting written responses through a teacher on behalf of the children, if that's any schools would like to do that. But obviously if they're over 13, we do try to guide them to that strategy. Again, it takes about 10 minutes. Most of the questions are very similar to the adult one, so that we do get that direct comparison. It's just worded a little bit differently, that's all. And then last slide, please. Great, and then the last one's a little bit more fun. It's not an online quiz or anything like that. It's our climate change poster competition. This is for all of our artists and the youth residents. So it's age between 4 and 16. We have 2 different age categories, so primary and secondary, with the categories being little things we can do to help tackle climate change and their own personal climate action pledge. So the winning entries, they obviously get posted on Facebook. We can display them locally, but they will be put onto a recycling bin wagon. So the ones that collect all their waste, their recycling waste, it'll be on there so they can see those as well, which we think is honestly lovely. The deadline is the 1st of April, and then voting will be public for those. There is obviously more details if you go on chorleycouncil.gov.uk/poster competition. These information that we get from these will factor into the strategy, so it does get that younger age range. Again, this has gone to schools as well, but you know, if you have any youth groups, if you want to go to the schools yourself, if you know any families with younger people, we would love to get some lovely art on the side of our bin wagons, so please steer them to this as well. So yeah, that's everything from me. If anyone has any questions, I do also have, right next to Councillor Beaver, sorry, I've got a big stack of posters. If you have anywhere that you think these posters will be good, your community centres, your parish buildings, anything like that, please feel free to take one. They look a little bit crinkled. It's because they were at the tree giveaway and it was quite windy, so they're a little bit crinkled from the wind at the tree giveaway. But please feel free to take one if you'd like one and you think you've got a good spot for it. Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sally. I think it's very, very important that we do engage the public, because I actually went to Lancaster Council, who, like ourselves, want to be carbon neutral by 2030. And I was quite surprised to find out that solely on their own, the council, it will make 0.4% emission change. That's all. So it's very, very important to get the public involved, because no council can do it on their own. But thank you, Sally. Have we any questions for Sally? Yes, Ian.
I noticed that the consultation seems to concentrate on individual responses, like adult and youth. Is there any provision for responses from bodies like parish and town councils as a corporate body?
Yeah, so we certainly welcome those. They can be a written response for general comments. If you can email it to our generic email address, which is climatechange@chorley.gov.uk, so you can certainly do that, yeah. We'd welcome it.
You're happy with that, Ian? Yeah. Karen?
On the climate change, is that for just individuals? Because
So we do have actions within the strategy about community engagement. Community engagement is really important, and we do want to go through the parishes, through different groups. If you think an action is missing that you would like, you can certainly say that, and we can factor it into that final draft. So it is only a draft at the moment, so it can change if you do think actions for that type of work are missing.
so these have the deadline for the information. So the
So that is one of the priorities within our strategy, and it does discuss which priorities are most important to you, which ones you think are missing, and any actions that you'd like to see as well. So it is quite open if you think something is missing, and it does ask what's the biggest priority to you as well.
Have we any more questions? I'm looking on the screens. Can you say anything, Ken? Could you not hear the questions, Julia?
No, not at all. The last two questions.
The last two questions.
It's okay if it's not a problem for anybody else. I've sort of worked things out from the answers. Thank you.
All right, Julia, thank you for that. Is there anybody else who'd like to ask Sally a question? Thank you very much, Sally. A good presentation, and very, like I said, very, very important to get the public involved, because councils cannot do it on their own. Thank you. Item number 4 is a Dalaride presentation, and I think we have Tracy Keatings from Dalaride attending on Teams. Are you there, Tracy?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Tracy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want to do a presentation and then take questions at the end, Tracy?
Yeah, that's okay. I'll just say a little bit about the Dial-A-Ride and then, like I say, take questions.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
usually the best thing to do. Okay, thank you. Fire away, Tracy.
Okay, I'd like to start, if I can, by just telling you a little bit about the organisation. I just think it's quite important because although we do some valuable work, we are a very small charity. We started in 1982. We have 6 paid staff. There's 2 in the office and 4 drivers. 2 of our drivers are full-time and 2 are part-time. We are 65% of our funding comes from a contract that we won with Lancashire County Council. And then we kindly got a grant from Chorley Borough Council and South Ribble Borough Council when our funding was cut by a third from Lancashire County Council. The rest of the funds we have to make up from the fares from our passengers, and also we do hire out the bus to community groups and nursing homes and things like that. From that income, we have to save to provide our own vehicles, our own minibuses. We don't get those provided by anybody. We actually have 5 minibuses ranging from 10 seats to 14 seats. And the newest one is about 2013 and our oldest one is 2008. Now our aim is actually to provide transport for people who cannot access public transport or have an access to the vehicles themselves. We are a door-to-door transport, so obviously we'll pick them up at the door, the driver helps them onto the vehicle, and obviously going back, we drop off at the door and the driver helps them back in. But we are a door-to-door bus service, so that means all bookings must be made in advance. We're not like a taxi service, you can't ring us up on the day. Under the Section 19 permit that we operate under, everything has to be booked in advance, and also all customers must be members of Central Lancs Dial-A-Ride. There's no cost for that, it is just a membership form that they fill in. We do certain routes on certain days so that we can cover all the areas, because obviously we cover all of Chorley and its boroughs and South Ribble. And as I said, we only have sort of 4 buses that are out. The 5th one's usually spur or to hire out. We do Saturday trips for our regular weekday users just to get them out and about. And they are literally for the people who use us, because we don't want to be in competition with coach companies or anything like that. So they're not advertised. It is just a little thank you for the people that use us during the week. We would like to help everybody who asks for our services, but obviously it isn't possible because we're not always in their area. We only work Monday to Fridays from about 8:30 to 5 o'clock. But we do our best, and if we can't help somebody, then we do try to signpost to other services that might be able to cover what they need. The minibuses are used mostly for taking people shopping and to social activities and clubs during the daytime. And we are actually only driver-only buses. We don't have passenger assistance. So anybody that needs to use us does need to be able to travel by themselves or provide their own carer, because, as I said, we don't have passenger assistance. We also we've started in the last couple of years to run a community car service, which is where volunteers use their own car to take people to the things that the dial-a-ride minibuses can't do, and that's usually like medical appointments, because medical appointments are time critical. And as I say, the buses are usually on a route. And with this, as I say, the volunteers use their own car. They get paid 40 pence per mile for doing this. And it is a brilliant service. But unfortunately, we've only got 2 volunteers at the moment, and the third one is waiting for the DBS to join us and come on board. We struggle to get volunteer drivers. We have got Eccleston Parish Council, they're on board with us. They, a couple of years ago, agreed to give us money for the dead mileage for the drivers, and they also did a big campaign to try and recruit volunteers, but we only got 1 person from that. And obviously an Adlington Town Council are also on board with us, and they're waiting in the wings to start a car scheme with us. But we just can't get any volunteers. Again, they've put notices up on the notice board, I think in parish letters and things like that. We haven't got anybody yet. And we also are registered with the Chorley Council's Community Volunteer Referral Partnership. Just Serve, which is a website just started up by the Latter-day Saints. For anybody who wants to volunteer from them, they can go on their website and have a look. Tempo time credits. I think that's it at the moment, but we really do struggle to get volunteers, but this is what we really do need, because the car scheme is brilliant to fill in any gaps that the dial-a-ride can't do. So I don't know if you've got any questions, to come back to me now.
Thank you, Tracy. That was a good presentation. Right, that's over to the room. Has anybody got any questions for Tracy? Fire away.
It would come under public liability insurance for private motorists, because as myself running a business, can you hear me? Yeah. I run my gardening business. It's a separate item running my gardening business than my own private insurance, you know what I mean? It's not quite as simple as you think, is it, really, this insurance job?
Yeah, well, we actually have, obviously we have public liability insurance, which covers everything that we do. But on the actual car scheme side, we actually have an extra insurance that covers the car drivers, which they send to their insurer. We have a policy that we give to the car scheme driver, and they send it off to their insurers. But on the public liability side, I think that everything's covered under our policy, because they are actually, all right, you're not working for us, but they are our car scheme, and the drivers are registered as volunteers to our company.
Sure,
Let's come back on that, Alan.
they're assisting you, aren't they? It's a good cause, you know what I mean? But there's lots of red tape and liability things, but things can go right and things can go wrong, can't they? You know what I mean? Everything has to be in order, doesn't it? You know what I mean? I know you're doing a good job, but insurance it's a funny thing, isn't it? Insurance, it's all right. Well, the job's going well, but things, somebody could fall and whatever, get caught in a door. It works out, Anyway, whatever.
Oh, yeah, it can do, but it is definitely covered, because, as I said, I know we've only started it recently, but our lead body, Little Green Bus, who's in Ribble Valley, they run entirely their minibuses, the cars and everything on volunteers. And it has been set up by Lancashire County Council originally, sort of many years ago. So it is covered. Yes, I understand what you're saying, but everything is covered and above board, and people are safe.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
I know what Alan means. If something goes wrong, you've got to be covered. Katrina.
Can I just say that a few years ago, my husband did something very similar in Exton within the churches, just picking people up to take them to the hospital appointments. All he did was phone his own insurance company up, explain what he was doing, and they just made a note on it, no extra charge or anything.
Thank you, Katrina. I don't think that really warrants a reply. It's just a good point to make. Have we any more questions for Tracy from anybody? Councillor Berry, Julia.
Yeah, thanks. Just very briefly, I feel really guilty. I've only just been on the Facebook page that you've got, and I'm now following Chorley Ride, and I just think it'd be really useful if people here tonight could perhaps give them a bit of promotion and marketing as far as their big ask and aspiration to get more volunteer drivers. I think that's just what you're missing, really, a lot of sort of a bit of a profile around it, because I know when Chorley Together got set up, we did have surplus drivers, and those people were very generously giving up their time during a very difficult time for our community. And I'm sure they're still probably quite interested in signing up for something like this. It makes such a vast difference for people, particularly in the parishes. Town centre might have good provision, but we desperately need it. And I'd like to see, next time we see you, Tracy, that everybody, all the parish councils have signed up to provide some sort of offer, at least have a discussion about how we can connect. And let's hope that Lancashire County Council also can give you a bit of a push as well. So I just think that's our duty, really, because without it, lots of people would be so isolated and not getting out of their homes. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Can I just say on that, I was going to say actually that again, I've mentioned Little Green Bus, which is in Ribble Valley, and they have a fantastic relationship with all the parish councillors. And we would really welcome that, if people would like to get to know us better, get to know what we do, and us get to know yourselves better. I think we've always sort of sat back and kept ourselves to ourselves. We do need to be out there, and we do need to, get some feedback. And also, I've got off the trail now what I was going to say then. But, I've actually been in contact and working with Hayley Hughes at Chorley Council and Laura Hendy, because they had the same idea that all these people that have been volunteering, taking medical supplies in their cars here, there and everywhere, now that it's coming to an end, they may want to carry on volunteering and may be interested in doing the volunteer car scheme. I haven't heard anything else yet, but as I say, I am working with Hayley and Laura.
Thank you, Tracy, and a good point there, Julia. If there are people out there who've helped in the past, as you say, during the pandemic, they may be willing to carry on, and it may be a resource that could be tapped into. Good point. Have we any more questions for Tracy? No, I think we're covered. Thank you very much for that, Tracy. And I'll move on to the next. It's now a question for members of the liaison and public. Has anybody got any questions?
Chair.
Yes, Terry.
Basically, it's trying to get members' responses to the second draft consultation on the parliamentary boundary review. As it affects Wealton, it's absolutely ludicrous what they're proposing, and I'm sure in other areas you may feel the same thing. But I think from our point of view, as a liaison committee, we should be making a response as well.
Thank you, Terry. We could do that, couldn't we, to the parliamentary boundary? Could we do it as a liaison or not? Do you think, Carol? Jennifer? Kim?
Yeah, we should be able to. Yeah, depends on the deadline.
April the 4th, I think. I mean, I know from a point of view of Wealton and Chorley North East, virtually every member has had a leaflet asking them or telling them how to make comments, and we have had a reasonable response of people wanting to make comments, and I've seen some of the comments that people have been kind enough to send me. But yeah, we think we
I think it'll be a bit tight.
go on, Kim.
I agree that we should make a response, but I suppose it's what you want that response to encompass. Do we want to oppose the current proposals or propose something else? Because I know there are a few other suggestions that are out there in the ether about replacing Adlington for other parts of the borough and stuff like that, which I know you're aware of anyway, but it's what we want to say, isn't it?
I think one of the things we've got to be aware of is there's almost a 9,000 overlap of numbers to make the constituency viable. And by hiving off small villages to Darwin, it's just absolutely ludicrous. We have an affinity, a cultural heritage affinity with Chorley. And of course, in Wheelson's case, we want to stay with Chorley as a parliamentary constituency. So it depends how it affects others, but we've got to be aware that even on the west side of Chorley, you could be hived off into West Lancs or South Ribble.
Yes, it's West Lancs Moors. Myself and Margaret were at the consultation on Monday, and Margaret spoke on behalf of Chorley North East, and it wasn't well attended, I have to say, to everybody in the room. There weren't an awful lot of people there, but we did turn up and we did make comments regarding our own ward. But do we think we can? It's just a question of what members want to say, because if we're doing it in part of a body, then
I think there's a couple of ways we could approach. I think thinking about it now, because it's less than 2 weeks for the deadline for the parliamentary review for the comments to be submitted, there's a couple of ways we could look at it. We could send an email out following this meeting to all parish clerks asking for their comments, and we'll collate them together and submit it as part of the body. Alternatively, another option we could do is we could hold a separate meeting, like a virtual meeting perhaps, with a representative from each parish should they wish to attend, and see if we can get a couple of an officer to come from elections maybe, and then we can put the comments forward. I suppose it just depends what your views are.
okay.
I think that we should, I mean, it's up to parishes, but I think we should just put a submission in saying that the current proposals don't respect our local connections as a borough, because they don't. You know, in terms of putting a decent chunk of the borough in with East Lancashire, that doesn't respect our cultural, employment, education, religious, everything, our whole connections as a borough, and that we're not happy with it on that premise, because they are supposed to respect our local connections. That's a big thread throughout the consultation, although that is quite generic in terms, isn't it?
I think that's a very good proposal.
So to make a comment, obviously we've got to be sure that it's what the liaison group want to say. I know from a point of view of talking to people in Chorley North East, there are one or two in favour, Terry, believe it or not. I mean, I can't see the point personally, but there are one or two in favour. The majority seem to be against, but obviously it's an individual thing. The letters we put out is just telling people how to make their comments, and they make their own comments. I know what mine are, but that's personal. Mine are online, I've done it. But it is personal. Councillor Platt, Deborah.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, Deborah, yeah.
Yeah. The thing is about putting that forward is that's just maybe the opinions of one side of Chorley. If that goes in, it then has a knock-on effect at the other side of Chorley, and you end up with the outer reaches at this side, which is sort of like the Eccleston and Maudsley area, being knocked out into a different constituency. So you've only got one side of the story there. I think this would be so rushed, and you would end up with too many views going through this meeting, that it maybe should be left to the channels that it's already going through, which is the political channels, the Chorley channels, all the council channels. All the parishes have their own opportunity to put their points forward. I think doing a rushed response from this meeting might be a mistake.
Thank you, Deborah. I mean, you can see yourselves, there are varying views. This is the problem. I know what mine are, I know what Terry's are, but there are varying views. So half of me agrees with Councillor Platt's comments, Deborah, that it's a funny route to go down, Terry, because not everybody's going to be in agreement. Whether we can get a majority say one thing or the other, but there's not going to be a full agreement, and that's a difficulty. Yes, Terry, you want to come back?
I think the counter-argument to Deborah's comments is, at the end of the day, do we all want to be in Chorley? That doesn't exclude Eccleston or Heskin or anywhere else. They want to be in Chorley, do they? So the issue is, do we want to be in Chorley or do we want to be hived off elsewhere? And I would argue, talking to people on the ground, that in general, everybody that I've spoken to wants to be in Chorley.
I think the problem is talking to the commissioners, Terry. Constituencies have got to be balanced within, I think it's 69, 75,000, something like that, Kim. They've got to be a balanced number. This is what this is about. It's about balancing up the numbers. You've got to do it in some way. Some have got to move one way or another. So you've got to bring up a balanced argument. And that's the difficulty, is getting a balance. The whole aim is to make the constituencies very, very similar. I think is it 5% balance, Kim? But it's to make them very, very, very similar, to balance up the numbers. So unfortunately, there are going to have to be some changes. And it's what those changes are. We've got to sort of, it's one of these, we've got to balance, it's all about balancing up numbers, really, and that's the difficulty.
We were told at the first presentation, when it was in the offices here, by the Boundary Commission officers, that they were taking into account local feeling. Now, you've already yourself, there's nearly a 7,000 range to increase minimum maximum size of a constituency. You're not telling me that hiving off a certain part of Chorley is going to take 6,000 to 7,000 residents with them elsewhere.
Right, I think somebody else wants to speak on this. Colin, would you like to come in, Colin, and have your words on this? I think you're muted, Colin. Unfortunately, we can't unmute you, Colin.
Is that better?
That you've got it. You've got it.
No,
right, fire away, Colin.
No, it's either one or the other. I can never speak to you, or you can never speak to me. Sorry about that, Gordon. I'll back out.
Have we any other comments on this subject? Thank you, Alan.
Sorry, Gordon. I mean, just to reiterate what other people have said. I appreciate what Terry's saying, but if you look on the Commission website, you'll find people from the western parishes who want to come back into Chorley, who wish they'd never been taken out of Chorley in the first place. If somebody's got a better suggestion, redraw the boundaries and take it to the Boundary Commission. But I don't think it should come from this meeting, because I don't think that's a majority.
I think the point Alan's making there, Terry, is when I was at the Commission, there were a number of people coming forward with proposals that were balancing up numbers. And that's the thing, is to try and make the constituencies balance out.
I was just going to say, I don't think it's our job to put forward proposals. I'm not employed by the Boundary Commission. I'm here to represent our individual villages and parishes, and I think all that Terry's trying to say is that we all want to remain in Chorley. And whether we're in Eccleston or whether we're in Wealdon or Adlington, that's all we want to say, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong, we all want to remain in Chorley, and I think
You're
we can all agree
absolutely
on that point.
And before people start dictating numbers to me, as a statistician, I can tell you the Boundary Commission could logically draw the line down the street and divide the communities that way. At the end of the day, it's a question of whether we want to be in Chorley. Wealdon does, full stop. That doesn't preclude or exclude anybody else.
Yes, Alan.
Terry, through the chair, Terry, where would they go to, which Terry lives? What other villages would be involved with Terry then, if he was out of Chorley, chair, you know?
The villages primarily involved will be Wealdon, it will be White Coppice, there will be parts of Whitley Woods, there will be Brinskull, Withnell, Abbey Village, and part Withnell Fold, and small part of possibly, I think it probably come under the, oh no, it's still under Withnell. They will go to West Pennine, or West Pennine Moors as constituents will be known, and primarily the MP is probably going to be based in Darwin. So I think that is the problem that a number of people in the villages around that area in Chorley North East have, with the convenience of coming to Chorley to see their MP. So I can understand that.
Thank you very much, thank you.
Yes, Deborah.
Thanks. I'm not disagreeing with Terry or Kim. Yes, we all want to stay in Chorley, but to put forward one view from this committee without having the other side of the balance view is wrong. This committee isn't the right forum to put a view forward, because already we've got two sides of the story. We've got the we've got the Chorley south side, and then we've got the Chorley north side. It's if one goes in and one comes out, if the other one goes in, the other one comes out. That's what the Boundaries Commission has said, because of the numbers. If we fitted in one constituency, we wouldn't be arguing. We wouldn't be discussing this, because we all fit. We don't fit because we're too big. So somebody has to be outside. So this committee isn't really the right committee to put forward that view, because it isn't balanced. Not everybody's here. So why don't we use the routes that we're already taking, which are the political routes, the council routes, the parish council routes, and you also have your personal views.
Thank you, Deborah. Yeah, I think I've got to say, Terry, in general, it will be a difficult one for this committee to do, because you're going to get a lot of differing views. So I think on this one, yeah, we're probably better sticking to each parish council making their own comments directly to the commission, and us making individual comments rather than us doing it as a group from here as the liaison committee.
My only concern is this is not being... My only concern is this is not being done on political lines. It's being done on cultural lines. At the end of the day, we have an affinity with Chorley. I'm sure that all the other parishes have an affinity with Chorley. Therefore, what is the issue? The issue is we could be moved out. The issue is to reply that we want to stay in Chorley. So any committee can make that decision.
Yes, Katrina.
We're just going around in circles, actually. I mean, all I'm thinking is Terry needs to get his parish council to get out their letter strongly, get in touch with all his residents and say, get in touch with the commission. And if we send a generic letter, which seems what we get off big councils and off this, that and the other, is there are concerns within some parishes in Chorley that the cultural background of that some particular parishes is being overridden. That's all you have to put. You can send a letter like that. You don't have to say the majority is.
Thank you, Katrina. I can truthfully say to you that Wilton, all the parishes in Chorley North East have had such a letter with. All the letter says, it just tells them how to make the comments known. You can do it online, you can actually do it in writing, and we've made sure that everybody within Chorley North East has had the opportunity to make their comments. Yes, Ian.
Yeah, please correct me if I'm wrong here, but this Boundary Commission review is a parliamentary boundaries review. It's not a local government boundaries review. So all Chorley parishes and towns will still remain within Chorley Borough and served by Chorley Council. The only thing that will change is that the MP representing you to central government will change, potentially. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
It's a parliamentary constituency change. So yes, Lancashire County Council would still service all the wards, and all the wards will still belong to Chorley. It's not going to make any difference at all in that.
Ergo, it seems illogical to be part of Chorley Council's area and not be part of the constituency, parliamentary constituency area. Doesn't make sense. I would support Katrina's comments.
Chair?
Deborah, did you want to come back?
I agree with Terry there. So why is places like Eccleston supported by the South Ribble MP? They're over there fighting to get in, and whilst you're fighting to stay in. So you can't simplify it just saying everybody wants to be in Chorley. Yes, they do. But we won't all stay in Chorley constituency because there has to be some outside, because the numbers don't stack up. If we all fitted, like I said before, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And we don't fit. We don't fit in a constituency size. So if the committee went down the line of saying all of the parishes around where Terry's talking about should be in Chorley, so should the other ones be in Chorley. So you're not giving the Boundary Commission what it wants. The Boundary Commission wants a solution or a good suggestion. That isn't a good suggestion because it doesn't go by their rules, which is they don't fit. If we don't fit, then somebody has to be outside. This isn't the arena to send in a response to the Boundary Commission.
Thank you, Deborah. Councillor Bradley's just joined us. We're talking about boundary commissions, Alistair. Quick. Yes, well, I mean, obviously you've not heard the debate, but seeing you've just come in. Basically, Councillor Dickinson would like Liaison to send a letter to the Boundary Commission about the boundary reviews. Now, the problem we've got is some parishes, some win, some lose. So it's a very, very difficult thing for us to do. But I'd just like to hear your point of view, Alistair.
Right, so when this was first announced, the council did put through a notice of motion that basically said, and I'm looking at Kim now for to read it out to me, because I can't remember exactly what it said, but it said something along the lines of that whatever the solution that the Boundary Commission came up with respected the linkages and connectivity of the areas, i.e. put in Adlington and Anderton and North East Chorley in with Rossendale probably wasn't respecting those linkages, which is the same argument a little bit for, and as I come from Eccleston, I'll say Eccleston being put into possibly into the South Ribble constituency a number of years ago. So it's the same argument. What it said was that it needed to respect the wishes of the area as best it could, rather than just carving things up on a map. I can send out, we can send out the notice of motion that was put in. I'm sure it's far better worded than that, but that's what it said. And that was our stage 1 level request for the Boundary Commission. Bizarrely, we sent that in, the Boundary Commission received it, but they didn't put it up on their website. So we only noticed they hadn't put it up on their website as one of the responses when we came to this round 2 situation. It will be difficult for this committee, I think, Chair, to put something forward because, as you said, you are representing a collective of people. Each parish can say what it wants individually because you're in a different situation, and for the unparished areas, you know, others can make that representation as well, and people have done. So, and we are supportive of the best answer for Chorley, but I think I just caught the back end of Deborah Platt's comments, which are dead right, which is Chorley is too big to be a unit on its own in the numbers that the government are currently talking about, and therefore, at the moment, Croston, Maudsley, Eccleston, Bretherton are excluded from the Chorley constituency. On the new carve-up as it's currently put into round 2, they come back into Chorley, and unfortunately, the eastern side is carved up because, and the reason for this is 1 seat in Lancashire has to go, effectively. They won't cross the border into Merseyside or to Greater Manchester, so 1 seat in Lancashire is going, and like a dartboard, if you take one bit out, everything else shuffles round, and it's a shuffling round that has caused what we're looking at now. So I'm aware that some people have spoken this week, some members who are councillors here and parish councillors, etc., have spoken at the hearings that are going on currently. I think they started on Monday and they're going to go on for a couple of weeks for people to make their views known in person. After that, there'll be a second round of consultations posted on the website, and they're supposed to consider what's been said in those hearings and what else they've had reflected to them, and the council will be reinforcing its position from last time. But it's very difficult to make the dartboard work that keeps everybody happy, because effectively in Chorley either the western parishes drop out or some of the eastern parishes drop out, and therefore, as Deborah said, then somebody's going to be unhappy. The only other comment I would make personally, my own view at the moment, is I am unsure whether this will actually ever happen, because the government have to put it through. The Prime Minister is not popular at the minute with some of his own party, and therefore he would have to get those people to agree to it, and they are turkeys voting for Christmas because there's going to be 60 less of them. So a number of them have to vote to lose their own jobs, and therefore I personally think it will be quite difficult to get it through at the moment, and they've talked about doing this for a number of years and they've never actually done it. So don't be surprised if this is kicked down the road at some point.
That was it was very, very helpful. It made it a lot clearer than I did anyway. That's why he's the leader and I'm not. But no.
There is no right answer, as Deborah said. There is no answer where we can get a cohesive view, because everybody's view will be different depending where in the borough you come from, unless you're right in the middle where you're not affected. And therefore, all we would ask the Boundaries Commission is to try and keep the greatest number of people happy. The problem we've got is they've set the parameters a bit like they did with the ward boundary changes that we did last year. They've set their parameters quite tight. And the seat that's disappearing effectively is in Wyre, and therefore it's the shuffle round that's affecting us, the east and the west, and they've tried to preserve, in my view, a little bit too much the east of Lancashire areas. What they probably need to do is soften that up to benefit us, but whether that, and going back to Deborah's point, we're growing as well, so they reckon they're going to review these boundaries every 5 years moving forward. They haven't got a hope in hell, because they'll be changing them constantly. And they're going to have this issue every 5 years. They're not going to do it.
No, thank you, Alice. That made it a lot clearer. Did you want to come back, Terry?
Can anybody tell me the logic of moving parishes out that are geographically closer to the centre of the constituency and then putting them on the edge of another constituency 20 miles away? There's no geographical logic to that.
If you look
the numbers game, Alistair.
It's a numbers game, and therefore it will not make logic based on geography. It will make logic based on numbers.
It's not based on numbers as well, because the range is 6 to 7,000.
So make the representation as best you can now, because that adds. You know, we're not going to propose anybody's proposals going forward, but we can't square this circle, and we've looked to try and do it, and we can't make it stack up that all of Chorley Now, the question is do you leave it with the bit of the west out as it currently is, which is effectively the bit that's being pushed into Chorley, and that is creating that drop-off from the east side. So if you want to maintain the status quo as it is, but that then probably won't suit the western parishes, because for a long time the western parishes have said, why are we not part of Chorley? Because we're part of Chorley Borough. And that's the reality, Terry. So I can't justify the government's position or the Boundary Commission. It's not the government doing it, it's the Boundary Commission that are doing it. What I would argue is that, personally, again, this isn't a council position, my own personal position is there should be a certain right of self-determination. People should be able to join where they want to be and feel represented where they want to be. And therefore, it's not about fairness of equal-sized constituencies, because in reality, the Western Hebrides and north of Scotland are never going to be the same population number as other parts of the country. They make a special exception up there, so why can't they do it elsewhere if people are so exercised about it? But there is no, there's no right answer. Make the noise, because it appears that they do listen to noise, they do listen to communities saying that they are not represented properly in the future, and then it becomes a trade-off on the numbers. Terry.
Thank you, Alistair. Colin, did you want to come back in again? I think you're on mute again, Colin. No, he has struggled before, Chair, to get through. Right, we'll move on. Items for future meetings. Has anybody any particular strong feelings? I mean, obviously this can come in later on before the next meeting. So if anybody's anything they'd like to raise currently while we're here, fine. Otherwise, please, different parishes put in any items you'd like on the agenda for June. It's June, isn't it? July, sorry. Yes, Derek.
Can we have something on the agenda of the benefits of the Westway development to the parishes?
Can we make a note of that, Coral? Westway, benefits to the parishes. Right, item 7, any urgent business? I haven't got any. So thank you very much for your attendance. And thank you, Alistair. You just came in at the right time. Or the wrong time.